Alright, so today we're going to be talking about this mower build here. So this thing has really kind of evolved into being something kind of crazy and unusual, really. The cool thing about this mower, like this here and this body right here, and then the hood that I got, you guys have seen in the other video. This mower has pretty much been in my family for as long as I can remember, even since I was probably 10 years old. So it's got a lot of history in the family. You can kind of see the patina on it here and here where it's been used over the years. And what makes this so cool is my grandma had it, my aunt had it, my uncle had it, and then my grandma had it again. I mowed a lot of yards with that mower, and actually bought my first Xbox 360, the Halo 5 one, with it. So it's got a lot of memories on the old mower. And eventually what killed the mower was the rear end of it. Just kind of gave out and just blew into chunks. But anyway, probably what a lot of people wonder is why was this built? And to be honest with you, this mower sat in the woods just dead pretty much for probably, I don't know, 2 years or 3 years, had no purpose to it. And I always kept looking at it and thought, man, it'd be kind of cool to make one of those racing lawn mowers where it's like, a little bitty 2-stroke or 4-stroke mower. And kind of the story of how this LS motor came about and then building this whole thing was really what happened was one day I was down in the junkyard with a good buddy of mine, and we were looking for some El Camino doors and a couple of little parts, and right by this El Camino was this 5.3 engine here in a 1999 Silverado. And we went there, we weren't planning on pulling any engines out that day. All we had was the old cheapo $15 Walmart toolboxes that had a ratchet, a couple sockets, and a pair of vice grips, and that was it. We really didn't have anything. And lo and behold, this was around Halloween last year, and come to find out, that weekend they had a 50% off engines. And so we were there and we saw it and everything looked pretty good, and we were like, well, hell, let's get us a 5.3 engine out of this Silverado for 50% off. So we spent the whole day with these little chintzy toolboxes and got this thing 90% of the way out. And they rang the bell, and we thought that the day had been over with and we missed the deal. Well, come to find out, the deal was actually the next day. So we just went in the morning, picked this engine up, and hell, I think I paid like $120 for this whole entire engine, complete with everything, all the harness, the fuel injectors, the coil wires, and all that stuff for $100. So it was a hell of a deal. And brought the engine home and kind of stared at the mower and then stared at the engine and was like, what the hell am I going to do with this engine? I don't even know why I brought it home. And then one thing led to another, and me and Dad sat down, had a few beers, and was like, well, I don't think I've ever seen anybody build an LS mower yet. So that's kind of where it came about. So kind of to start off here, we're going to work our way here in the front and kind of go over every single little detail of this thing. So to start off, this straight axle right here is actually a 1965 Ford Econoline van straight axle. And if you look around like Speedway and a few other places, or like just old hot rods or new hot rods that people build, is you'll notice that most straight axles are like a tube, really, and then they have all the brackets, or you can buy them on Speedway, the whole entire straight axle and all the brackets. Well, this build has basically been an old cheapo build, like the cheapest parts, eBay, hand-me-down parts, you name it. So I found this straight axle on Facebook. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but what we ended up doing was we ended up chopped it down. So you can see here we chopped it, reinforced it with some welds here, and what we did was these brackets right here are Speedway brackets, and we'll cut out the axle right here, slid the bracket in, and then welded up and put some reinforcements right here. And you can see that these brackets hold my bars right here. And basically this whole front end is kind of a collaboration of Speedway parts and miscellaneous parts like this bracket speedway. These are speedway. This is speedway, and this is a to find the right size I needed and didn't need something that beefy and the width of it. This is just a trailer spring, just a hell, I think it was like 500-pound spring, something like that. Like, we're never going to use it, but worked good. And this is a speedway bracket. Got this, welded it all in, and kind of made it to where it's basically just an old hot rod front end you see like on a rat rod or a T-bucket or something is what we went after. Just simple suspension setup. So we'll kind of make our way over here, and you can see that on this axle it had the original steering right here, so it's got the swing that comes out, and you got your swivel ball. So we'll talk about that steering setup when we get over to that side. But this the straight axle came with a really weird surprise when I bought it. It came with GM disc rotors on it, and it being a Ford axle was like none of that stuff matches up. So we took it apart, and it was a nightmare. Basically couldn't figure out what in the world the disc brakes that were on it were from. I tried forever to figure out what it was because I needed calipers for them. So I ended up, what had somebody had done to this Ford spindles to make this GM caliper work, the original one, not this one, somebody had grinded down the spindles, and so it was at the point where I didn't want to spend a lot of time on all that. So what we ended up doing was grinding down the spindles more, got some new bearings that fit on it and everything. This is a 1978 Malibu rotor, and this is a 1978 Malibu caliper. And what I ended up doing was grinding down the spindle, put the bearings in it, put the washers on it and the wing nut, and it all fits really solid. There's not much movement and stuff. Of course, this being GM calipers and this being a Ford spindle, there's no aftermarket support for it. So what I ended up doing was this bracket here, Speedway sells it. It's like a dirt racing GM bracket, something like that. And basically it goes like this. I didn't change none of this, and it comes out and it's got like a curve to it. So I chopped all that off so it fits in this flat part right here. And you can see that's how I did my brackets. Just, I think it's like old $10 bracket for dirt racing. So chop that, put it up here, and end up working out pretty well. If you need to put GM stuff on a Ford spindle, this is probably the way you want to do it in terms of, just jerry rigging it. I mean, grinding down the spindle is not safe. I would definitely recommend, do not put this on a car you're going to drive on the street. If you're piddling around like I am with this thing, then it does just fine. So you can see here, kept the original bar right here on the axle, just cut that down, fitted it to, nothing crazy about that. And here you can see that basically made a bracket right here for the caliper line, so that's kind of cool. So goes over from the caliper, goes in here, got your little clip that holds it on the frame. And I tested this out where you can swing all the way left, all the way right, it doesn't bind up or nothing like that. And then you can see here got a little T-block that run my copper lines on it, so it goes over here, splits off into this one, and basically the same thing over here. And on these axles right here, got these little bump stops that keep you from going over too much when you steer, so that helps. And then you got your bracket here and a little clip. This right here, I made this part right here kind of mostly to support this, but if this thing ever breaks down or I need to haul it, I made this support right here. We can run a strap through it to pull it, so that was kind of an afterthought addition I made. But kind of move over this way, and like I said, you can see the support bars I got right here. They're adjustable, so you take those pins out, and you can sit there and adjust them to the length you need and all that. And you probably see it in the time-lapse video that I got of all the whole build process. You got your bracket for the radiator, just bolts into the frame, nothing crazy with that. Then just keep going around this way, and You can see that on the radiator, same thing, bolts over here straight across, holds the radiator in. It's got a overflow tank. Didn't really need one, but added one just to have it, so you know, if it gets hot, you know, overflows, it'll go in here and then drain out down below it. This radiator is actually a hell of a deal. This is on eBay. It's a 1965 or 1967 Mustang radiator on eBay. I think I paid like $130 for this thing. It's a three-row aluminum radiator. Comes with the shroud and the fan all together, all done. I didn't have to do anything, and came with the 2 wires. And that was really nice. And so far, it does everything this needs to do as far as cooling it down. Of course, I haven't idled this for you know, like an hour or 30 minutes. But so far, it does really well. Fan's really quiet. I like that. And then just ran my hoses, you know, up from right here. I'm glad I bought this. This was, I think, on Summit. The original factory lower line comes out right here. The port does, and then make a straight one. I think it was like $30 or $50, something like that. So got that. Then just did what everybody else does. Just, I think this is on Summit because they're 2 different sizes. Just that loop right there. Put this in right here. Originally thought I was gonna run a like a temperature sensor, like a 1/8 MPT right here. I still might do it, but right now I run that Bluetooth diagnostics and all that. But I'll probably end up putting it right here for the sake of it. This is a K&N filter. This is a 5-inch width, I believe, but just your typical, you know, shorty air filter, just so it's not big or hits anything. Let's see what else. The lights I'll eventually hook up, just haven't gotten there yet. You can see here that basically the only thing that supports the hood, really, which I mean it's more than enough because that hood ain't that heavy, but it mounts to here, runs all the way down, bolts up here like this right here, and maybe these cross brackets that just holds it all together, gives it some stability. I mean, it's pretty solid. And then just tack welded all these in, nothing crazy, drilled holes in them so the nuts are down there and welded them in. So all this holds the hood, and it sits flush on these mounts right here. Like I said, 1999 5.3, got a LS1 car intake on it. All these fuel lines that go from the tank on the fuel rails and everything are -6 AN, and all these fittings are from Jegs. Real easy. And then right here, added a fuel pressure gauge right here, comes off the fuel rail, works real nice. Took out the truck oil filler right here and just put a car one on. I think it looks better, and plus it don't hit the hood because the hood goes like right here down all the way. And this is just a brand new truck oil filler right here. And got some Holley FI fuel rails. These are kind of too big for the setup that I'm running, but a buddy of mine helped me out with these, so this is what I run. Don't really need these since it's all stock 5.3 setup, but that's what I run right here. These headers were actually really amazing for the price. When I was looking around, I needed some headers that came out wide, and I don't know, I looked for probably like almost a month on what I wanted to do for the headers, and basically ended up somehow got really lucky and was googling around, and about gave up and was about to go to a shop and have them make some headers for me. And these are on Jegs, I think. They're the Schoenfield headers, but Schoenfield on Jegs has all kinds of different types of LS headers that most people might not know about. I didn't know about them. But these are for a dirt track car. I think these were like 150, 180, maybe 200. They weren't nothing crazy, and you know, they're kind of thin, but for what this is, it works fine, you know, like dirt racing or this. But I love the way they look. You know, they're just straight down pipes, and the 3-inch, so that's what makes them cool. And they fit really well with the spark plugs, so all that's really nice. And kind of move over here, and had to get a new starter because The original one at the front of the junkyard just wouldn't spin over at all. This transmission, ended up getting this from one of Dad's friends for free. This was in a 1941 Chevy pickup. Can't remember what motor it was in, but yeah, this is a turbo 350. This, when I picked it up, had a converter with it. Not sure if it was a stock converter or what, but it came with the transmission. And I would highly recommend that you don't ever do this, what I'm about to tell you, but I did this because for the sake of what this build is. But this converter, I ended up buying a 4L80 plate that goes in here, the flywheel, because the 4L60 that was in this doesn't match up with the converter and all that. And the 4L80 flywheel is a lot better, a lot flatter too. So put that. Converter didn't want to fit in terms of, it fit all the bolt holes, but the ARP nuts that go on the studs that go in the flywheel wouldn't work. So in the torque converter near the bolt holes, I grinded some of the torque converter down just a little bit, not like a lot, maybe like a smidge, like that much, to where I could put the nuts in it. I'd highly recommend that you don't ever do that to a torque converter, but for my sake, for what this is going to see, it's not going to drag race or anything like that. So I did that to make the torque converter fit on the flywheel, and it runs good. It shifts through all the gears. Hell, you could stomp on it and it'll go through first, second, third, like no problem. So yeah. And then right here, the nice thing about that radiator too, I forgot about, with it being so cheap, in the bottom of that radiator, it actually has 2 ports in it that you can run transcooler lines up to here. So that's another benefit that's awesome about that radiator. I haven't done it yet, so I ended up on eBay. I bought this like $50 little loop right here that's got double flares on it. It's okay. It's starting to leak on me, so eventually I'll probably run transcooler lines to that radiator since I got it. But for right now, it works. Let's see, got my grounds right here, starter cables, all that stuff. All this is gonna be cleaned up. It's just this right here in the way until I get some more wire loom and put it, and then the hood's gonna hide all of it. The hood goes, from right here all the way. You don't see any of it, but kind of go over right here. So all this is stock stuff. The throttle cable right here, found on Speedway, they sell a whole gas pedal and throttle cable assembly, so we made our own custom bracket here, runs it back. And I really like this gas pedal from Speedway because it's just really simple. You run your cable to it. When you press down on the gas, you can see how it pulls it out. But what I really like about it is, for this mower having so much horsepower to it, 300 horsepower, but on this little bitty frame and all that, if I ever wanted to, I put a bolt in here. You can put it right here, wherever, and you press on the gas pedal. Alright, so if this dang GoPro would stop cutting out on me, because it sure seems to love cutting out on me. But when I was talking about this gas pedal, what I like about it is it's simple, and you can press down, and it's got the throttle cable comes out. But what I like is, for this build especially, Dad put a bolt in this right here, and you can move this where you want to. And what's great for this is, this having 280, 300 horsepower from this motor. If I want to let people get on it and drive it around, I could put this bolt here, and it limits the throttle so people don't get out here and stomp on it accidentally, or give it all the horses. So that's kind of nice. And then we talked about the transmission, and then right here you can see we shortened down the draft shaft. This is a 1978 rear end and a draft shaft, so just shorten that down. And the rear end's all stock. It's like I said, 1978 Malibu rear end. Don't know what gears are in it. Didn't cut it down at all, just took all the brackets off, just shaved it down, make it look clean. You're probably going to laugh at this rear end setup, because this was the first thing we built. The front end was an afterthought, and that's why it's got all the suspension. Originally we weren't going to do any suspension at all on this build, just going to be solid, kind of like how the original mower was, didn't have any suspension. But we built this, and what you can see here is this bracket right here that all the four bolts go into is like an off-road bracket. It's got a curve in it, so it fits the axle. We welded the bracket to the axle on the bottom, like all the way around. Once we got it all in place, and this bracket's like from an off-road site. It's meant to hold like your leaf springs on your off-road vehicle, but I used it for this. These bolts are grade A bolts from Tractor Supply. The bracket that holds all these in, tap the frame, and this bolt holds the bracket in there so it can't move. Yeah, I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. Yeah, should it have a suspension? Probably, because the front has a suspension, but you know, I can always come back later, chop the frame, move it up, put like a spring in or a coilover in it. But for right now, it works good. And like I said, it was the first thing we really built when we got to this frame part. Some of you probably wondering what in the world keeps the frame like in place and keeps it from sliding. My thought was, you know, when you get on it and you give it some torque, the rear end is going to want to push forward and down, so it's going to like put more pressure on the brackets and everything, so it's not going to slip out. But I mean, it's got 4 grade A bolts like torqued out, and it's not going to move. I went out and Dad's went out, and we both got on it hard in the field, and of course that's a slippery surface. It's not like concrete or blacktop or whatever, but it does just fine. The one thing I would not want to do with this type of setup, not having any suspension, is I would definitely, I'm not going to do it, but I would definitely recommend that, like, if anybody is going to drive this, or if I'm going to drive it, if you're going to burn out in it or get on it, go through the gears, do it in like grass or something, because if you ever did this like on concrete or blacktop, and it hops and catches grip back, I think it's going to snap all these bolts, or it's going to bend the frame, or it's going to bend something. Something's not going to be happy. So that's just something I try to tell myself is, if I'm going to go crazy and stomp on it, I'm going to do it in some grass or something that gives. But right here you can see Dad built like a support beam, goes all the way through the body. Makes it real solid, kind of like all the other brackets. Body's really solid, and then got this bracket right here, does it and all that. And I'm pretty sure this Mower body is like a 1980 or 1982 body, but I can't figure out these codes to save my life. But I think it's like an early 80s model, this Mower is. But when you talk about suspension, it's all the suspension you need in the rear end, these suckers right here. But here's where all the harness, ECU, most of the relays live in here. So take this out. And, got some heat shielding in here, and we welded in some metal plates to keep the water out, whatever. Got my Bluetooth ODB2 port. You can hook it up to your phone for diagnostics or see, like fuel pressure, all that stuff. Originally, I was going to use this for 100% of everything for diagnostics and check everything, but ended up putting in some manual gauges, like the fuel gauge you've seen earlier, and then later on in the video you'll see the oil pressure gauge. But I was going to do this because I didn't want to put any gauges in the mower body and make it look kind of weird. Kind of want to keep it original to the mower. This eBay harness was amazing, for the price. All together, wire loom and everything. Comes with a relay box. It's all pre-wired real well. It's got fuses in it. It's got relays. They wired pretty much everything ready to go to fire it up. And then this ECU is the Summit ECU. It's like $200. Has VATs removed. It's like all flashed and everything. It's got a bass tune in it. I think the only thing that it didn't take out was because you would run it on a vehicle is the oxygen sensors. Right now I think I need a tune to take those out because the mower's running a little bit rich. So yeah, this fuel rail, but yeah, it just goes and goes around. This return right here, then the fuel pump comes up from right here, the gravity fed. This is one of those Corvette filter regulators, so it's supposed to do 58 psi. The one I bought from Summit that has the AN fittings on it didn't work. I was getting like 80 pounds and more from it, just running too rich. This is a Speedway one, has the AN fittings on it. Basically, everybody on the forums is like, yeah, just save yourself some time because most of these are junk. They won't regulate at all. This one's from Speedway, and I put it in. It's regulating fine, like around 55, 58 psi, so that's good. But for this, everybody recommends to run the Wix one, but I didn't really want to deal with the adapters and all that, so this one I got from Speedway, and like I said, it's got those AN fittings on it. Makes it a little bit easier. So, but yep. And then here's this fuel cell. This fuel cell was eBay special. It was I think like $50, and put some heat shielding on it and all that. And it's got a fuel sending unit, wires and all that. It's got a sponge in it. You know, for $50 on eBay, it's pretty nice. So, all right. So, make our way over here to the driver's side. So here's a better look at the rear end. So you see right here, got the old drum brakes. Haven't hooked those up yet because I hate drum brakes. Just run front calipers for now, but eventually we'll do them. Got that bracket right here. See the time lapse. Hold this. Rear end's right here. Like I said, shape down the rear end here and all that. Bracket right here. You know, it's a pretty cool setup. This Willwood brake setup. Wanted something simple, not something complex. So this is nice. I think I got this on Amazon. I can't remember what I paid for it, but whole complete setup. You know, got this little master cylinder. Pretty cool. You know, just right here, run my brass line. Goes all the way down the frame right here, down to that T I showed you earlier. Yeah, and then here's the other front side of the fuel setup. Like I said, got these caps, and run my fuel pump down here. Eventually you'll see it in the time-lapse build. I had it up top, but since these fuel pumps like to be gravity fed and I was afraid of burning it out, I moved it down here, and it's hidden behind the hood, so that routes down. And this is a Works 255 LPH fuel pump. So run that for that. Does really good so far. But yeah, and got my little grommet right there for my fuel line so it don't get scratched up. But put a new PCV valve, PVC, whatever the hell it's called, in here, and a little filter. Here's what I was talking about, where the harness didn't have an oil pressure sensor on it, so I ended up just putting a mechanical one right here where the original oil pressure sensor goes right here. And all I really cared about was just, is this getting good oil pressure? And it makes good oil pressure. And like I said, I'm not using this for racing or nothing, so just seeing it was good for me. Like I said, all this is stock. One thing I forgot to tell you, this harness, one negative thing also that I forgot to tell you about is it did not come with these fuel injector adapters, even though it is the truck one. So I had to buy these on Amazon, these little connectors right here to the fuel injectors to the harness. These are about, I think, like $20 for all 8 of them. One of the things that got me on this that I was struggling to figure out because I couldn't find many posts on it was with the original 1999 truck injectors that I'm running right now with this LS1 car intake don't fit in the ports in this. And I Googled and couldn't find nothing, and ended up finally found an answer after I had done it. But if you want to run these truck injectors, which these are the early style, I think there's a later style that are different, but for me I ended up having to take the caps off of these little plastic caps or whatever the hell, the ceramic maybe, on the end of these injectors. Took those off, put these in, and it works fine for this. So that's what I had to do to get these to seat all the way down, because they'll be up here and you'll see the ring if you don't take the caps off. Yeah, let's see, got my rest of the harness right here, my belt. One thing you saw in the time lapse, went with the ICT billet alternator lowering bracket setup, just to make it look a lot cleaner and down out of the way. So drilled the block out right here. did that. On this radiator, you see what I'm talking about? It's got these 2 ports right here. I capped these off, but that's for your transmission lines. Back to this front end, you can see a better indicator of, here's the steering setup, the original swing right here. This bar, this piece right here was the original right here. Let me think. Yeah, extended this bar right here so you can see it comes out. The I can't remember what the hell you call this thing. The goes on the gearbox, your steering arm right here. This was really long, so you can see it right here. End up chopping it down to where it's about level with this. This gearbox is severely worn out. It's like an old Saginaw gearbox, I think from the 60s maybe. But the bearings in it are completely shot, and I can't find them anywhere. But we cleaned them up, put new grease in it, adjusted it basically all we could, and this is the setup I came up with these mounts right here to hold the gearbox in and make it stout. This right here, this used to be a, you'll see it in time lapse, used to be a double U-joint. Made it down to a single because you can see how it's close as hell to this transmission, and we chopped it off some. Not gonna hurt nothing because there's a lot of meat still in there, but yeah, we chopped it off. And this right here, this was like this when I got the transmission. Yeah, probably wouldn't recommend to put this in a daily driver, but for us it's good enough. Plus you know, get some airflow in there, never hurts. But yeah, here's that shifter setup, just typical shifter. Goes back here and got like a little roller assembly, a rod that goes to that shifter on the mower deck. Like I said, Dad built that, you know. Steering setup works really well. Like I said, just a lot of it's the gearbox just worn out to hell, so a little bit dangerous driving it if you don't know how to drive it. Kind of like, you know, swivels and brings back and all that, but kind of your typical hot rod setup, you know, gearbox, U-joints, got your shaft, and you got your stabilizer right here. It goes up in here, goes up to the steering column. Nothing really crazy, you know, just like you would on an old hot rod, just swivels and shafts to what you need. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a relatively simple build. You know, a lot of engineering. I mean, I'm not no engineer, but a lot of, like, you know, use your imagination. You know, tons and tons and tons of hours of welding. Me and Dad would trade off and do the welding. Just, you know, use a gas welder, and, you know, the welds turn out really nice for what they are. Try to make them look decent if they're on the outside. Some places are kind of rough, but, you know, something like this, I'm kind of happy about my welding. But yeah, lots and lots of welding, lots of making something, throwing it away, chopping something, redoing it, you know, just build it how you want to, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I love it. It's you know, engineered to be pretty stout. I mean, it wasn't slapped together in, you know, a few weekends. It took a whole year, and we try to make it as safe and you know, structurally reliable as you could get. Besides the rear end, you know, don't tell me about the rear end. I know how safe that is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's going to be going to LS Fest East here this year in 2022, so I'll probably see some of you people down there, and you'll get to see it in all of its glory.